Hello, how you doing? Good afternoon. It's August 11th, 2023. I got to tell y'all a secret. August 5th was a national holiday. Did y'all celebrate it? August 5th? Y'all didn't celebrate it? Oh, man. You can celebrate it next year. That's my birthday. It was a big one, too. I know I don't look it. 65. Woo-wee. Man, that froze the camera. 65. August 17th is another national holiday. That's national holiday for my wife and I both. What's that? It's our wedding anniversary. I know. I don't look at 38 years. 38 years. You know what that makes my wife? A saint. Because she's married to me. So yeah, August is a big month for us. And we're excited. And I'm going to share something with you today because, I've got a financial strategy practice where I meet with individuals and business owners to help them make smart decisions. And here recently, I've been dealing a lot with something, and I know that there are a lot of ladies in the audience, and this especially impacts you. And so I thought we should spend a few minutes talking about it, putting it on your mind, because you don't want to miss on this one. And here's why. We're going to talk about long-term care, okay? We're going to talk about long-term care, and it's not something that we hey Dawn in Colorado. It's not something we talk a lot about. Thank you. Happy birthday to you too. But long-term care is really important because there's a I don't want to call it an epidemic, but there's a serious problem happening in our country as it relates to caring for the elderly. And long-term care is about caring for the elderly, those who may have a cognitive impairment because of a chronic disease. People are injured by accidents, car accidents, slip and fall, different kind of accident, or impairment as a result of an illness like high blood pressure, diabetes. I know we've had people on here who have lupus and other situations. Long-term care is something you really got to think about. And here's why. You spend all your money and you get towards retirement, whatever retirement means to you, okay? And you got this money, and this money was for retirement. It was for you to live your life while you're no longer working, right? At least you're not working for somebody else, or you got a business or something that's creating passive income from you, so you're not actively involved in the making of income. You've set up assets that are doing that for you, and that's for your life. And you got health insurance for when you get sick. You got life insurance when you pass away. But what happens if you're alive, but you need ongoing care from someone else because of one of these things or something else? How do you pay for that? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Because, as we used to say, that'll put a hitch in your giddy up. Okay? It'll cause you some financial stumbles and falls because the money you had saved and prepared was for retirement. It wasn't to pay for your retirement and then pay for this caregiver over here. Okay? So, let's talk about this a little bit. See. Hey, suburb Chicago. All right, Miss Brown, how you doing? Miss Gloria out down in Georgia. All right. So who needs care? Yeah, I hope you can read this, but I'm gonna look at it on the screen over here. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Who needs care? The older you are, the more likely you are to need care. If you're 65 right now, you can probably count on needing care. Like I'm 65 right now. At some point in the future, you're going to need some kind of care. And I have long-term care with one of the strategies that we're going to talk about. Women outlive men by 5 years on average. Okay. And so they're more likely to be at home when they're older. If you're a single lady, okay, it's really especially important for you to think about this. If you have living children and they live close, I'm sure they can help out. But man, I cared for my mom the last 5 years. My brother and I and my wife, the last 5 years of her life, she lived with us. She had her own room and stuff like that, and she was easy to care for. My brother did a lot of it, but it's no easy thing, man. It's no easy thing. Okay. How does it happen? Like we said, having a disability, having an accident or a chronic illness. Between 40 and 50, 8% of the people have a disability that could require long-term care. There are people in nursing homes and other places in their 40s and 50s because of an accident. 8 or 9%. That's a lot of people when you look at the population of the United States. That's a lot of people. That's millions of people. 69% of people age 90 or more have a disability. Look, you know the fastest growing group of people in America right now? People over 100. Whoa. People over 100. And as healthcare gets better and we make changes to our lifestyle, it's going to continue to grow. We talked about this a little bit. Chronic conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure. You got a family history of chronic conditions. So look around your family and understand. Look around. Okay? Your past, your parents and your grandparents will give you clues as to probably what's down the road for you. And you can push it off as far as you can by diet, exercise, the right mental frame of mind. But you need to be thinking about this. If you live alone, you're more likely to need paid care than if you live with a spouse or a partner, because they can provide some of that care. But I've had family members where the spouse or partner got too old to be able to really deal with this physical nature of caring for somebody. So who needs care? Look, over half of America is going to need this care. That means over half the people in your family. If you married, there's 2 of you. 1 of you will probably need it. Okay? How much care? Man, it depends. But you can see this. Someone turning age 65 today has almost a 70% chance of needing some type of care. Women need care longer, 3.7 to 2 years. Now, I usually get people 4 years of coverage. 4 to 6 years of coverage is what I encourage people to buy. Say 1/3 of today's 65-year-olds may never need long-term care, but 20% are going to need it for longer than 5 years. Who's that going to be? Man, you don't know. So there's ways to plan for it that won't kill you financially, especially if you start now in your 40s and 50s. And don't wait till your 60s and 70s. And you can see here the kinds of care. Any service, unpaid care, paid care, care at home, and then going to a facility. If you go to a facility, that's kind of it. It's usually the last year or 2 people do that. But you can see, based on this scale, 4 years is the maximum. Usually people have this care. Either they get better or they pass on. But let me ask you a question. Think 4 years out in your life and think about the quality of life that you have right now. How important would it be for you to maintain that quality of life? To be with your family, to be at home, to be kind of looped in to what's happening with your family. Okay? I know my mom had to stay in a skilled nursing facility because she needed some around the clock and specific care, and she was in there for a few months. And it was like out of the loop, and we had to make it our business to go there every day, every day, every day, every day to really check on her and make sure she's okay. So, who's going to provide it? Who's going to do this? Well, unpaid caregiver could be a family member or a friend. But let me tell you, unpaid caregivers, you know what they get? If they're unpaid caregivers for a long time, they get bitter. Okay? Most people, unless they're called to it, they feel like that's their calling, that's their ministry. They didn't sign up to be somebody's caregiver for free. They didn't. Could be a nurse or home care, healthcare aide, adult daycare center, and then other long-term care facilities. But just know the more time and the more expertise means the more what? The more expensive. You'll find long-term care facilities are way more than your mortgage. Yeah. I usually program people in between $4 and $6 grand. And then with an inflation benefit on it, where it goes up 3 to 5% compounding on top of where they start. Okay. It's expensive to take care of people. And it's expensive to take care of people well. Okay. If you look at this, it says 2015 study by AARP shows over 43 million people in the U.S. had an unpaid caregiver in the last 12 months. There's 300 million people in America. That's 13% of all the people in America. And 2/3 of these people are what? Ladies, women. Okay. If you see here, 14% of those who care for older adults are themselves 65 or older. So you're 65 or older caring for somebody else 65 or over. That is a strenuous situation. Okay. So I just want you to be thinking about this stuff. So, what's long-term care? You see, it's a range of services and support. You may need to receive personal care, such as bathing, dressing, or transferring, like from a bathroom to a bedroom to a dining room. It's kind of moving around. And most of the time, this is in the home, but not always. Now, long-term care has a definition by the government, and it needs to be diagnosed by a doctor so this care will kick in. You have to certify these things. Cognitive impairment. What does that mean? Lack of memory, disoriented. Have you seen people with dementia or onset of Alzheimer's? That kind of thing, where they don't remember people, they don't remember information, time, things like that. Or they've got an inability to do these activities of daily living. Now, we wake up in the morning and we take things for granted. You wake up in the morning, your eyes open, first miracle. Really, the first miracle is you recognize the fact that your eyes did open. Okay. Then, oh, my eyes are open. That's the second miracle. You start talking, third miracle. And you heard somebody else, fourth miracle. You see what I'm going? Because these miracles, bathing, being able to use the restroom, dressing yourself, eating, getting out of bed, out of a chair, whatever, we take those for what? Granted. We take those for granted. These little miracles that you do every day for yourself, when somebody has to help you with them, they cost thousands of dollars a month. Okay? Most of it takes care in the home, which is a good thing. It's another good reason to have one, a home. Okay. It's expensive. Show you some numbers here, but long-term care is expensive, whether it's in-home or not, if you have good care. And it's likely to be informal. Now that's important because look, we're going to go over this just real briefly. There's a couple ways that people get paid. One is indemnity, and one isn't. In one way, you have to turn in receipts and stuff from a professional caregiver. Well, if yours going to be unpaid caregiver, how are you going to pay? How are you going to deal with that? Even if you wanted to pay them, which you're going to want to, because people aren't going to do this for years on end for free, right? So we'll cover that in a minute. Informal long-term care is physically and financially demanding for women. Like we said, most women survive men by at least 5 years. 75% of unpaid caregivers are women. Ladies, women are incredible people. Okay, they birth us, and then they got to help us on the other end as well. Usually along the way in the middle. Okay? And when women need long-term care benefits, they tend to need them 50% longer than men. We showed you that. Ladies are 3.7 years and men are 2.2 years. That's 50% longer. Okay? So ladies, that's why I'm talking to you today. This is something you really need to look at. Now, I'm gonna make a statement. Write this down. In your state, you need to understand the look back period on your assets for getting any kind of government care in this area. Medicaid does provide long-term care, but you have to be indigent, poor, broke to get it, unless you are wise enough to put your assets in the right kind of trust so you don't own them, so it isn't counted as personal wealth, and then you can avail yourself of the government's program. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? If you have the correct kind of trust and you do it early enough before the look back period kicks in, it's 5 years, but as you get smarter, the government changes the game. So get that done today where your assets are in the right kind of trust, removed out of your name, so you don't have to liquidate them to get services you've been paying for your whole life by paying taxes. Okay? Okay, Medicaid and Medicare are not realistic solutions. We just talked about Medicaid. Show proof you're impoverished. Assets must be less than $2,000. That's pretty impoverished. Typically a 5-year look back on your assets. That's why you need to be in that trust 5 years at least before you need this care. And most people by age, they need the care later in life, 70s, 80s. If you get in an accident and need it, well, that could be any time. So when do you want to get your stuff in this trust? As soon as possible. And the options for care are limited. The state facilities are what they are, and they're physically located where they are. If you don't live in that part of the state, well, either they got to move you away from your family, or it's just tough luck. Medicare pays benefit for 100 days. And I went through this with my mother. One thing happens, thing one happens. She's in the hospital for a period of time. They need skilled nursing to help her get back on her feet. They move her from the hospital to skilled nursing in a facility. Why? Because it's cheaper than being in the hospital. And they can recover there for up the maximum of 100 days. Then they have to leave. If something different happens and they need care, they could do that again. If it's a continuation of the same thing, they won't be able to. Okay? So that's why it doesn't, like you said, cover skill care, not chronic. This is a chronic illness. This happens over and over again. It's the same thing. No, it's not going to work that way. Okay? So that's why you need to really look hard at this long-term care. Gus, you trying to hard sell me on selling me a long-term care insurance policy? No, I'm trying to hard sell you on thinking this through. Okay? Like the old folks used to say, now I'm one of them old folks. Just keep living, child. Just keep living. Why'd they say that? Well, it could be aches or pains that they were having. Could be just life experiences. But you keep living and more things are going to become your reality, okay? Understanding long-term care, there's two kinds of ways where it gets paid out. Reimbursement is bills need to be submitted each month. And if you got an informal caregiver, guess what? Man, they may reject that. But if you had a cash indemnity, no receipts, no bills, nothing required, you buy a benefit, and when the doctor says you need it, they just start cutting the checks to you. And literally, they don't care what you spend it on. But if you really need the long-term care, hopefully you're spending it on that. Okay? You have to wait and see what services are covered. They can deny things. With indemnity, you get up to 100% of the available monthly benefit to use without any policy restrictions. Now, the obvious things they don't want you doing with it, okay? No criminal activity or anything like that. But short of that, you can use the money for whatever you want to. So it's best to have it. When you do get long-term care insurance, I encourage you to get a cash indemnity plan. Okay? Now, you need to develop a plan to do this. Talk to a trusted financial professional. I'm available to help, but find somebody who you can talk to and they can lay out the multiple ways that you can pay for long-term care. There's at least 4 or 5 different strategies at minimum and by which you can pay for long-term care. Get with a financial professional that can share with you those 4 or 5, depending on how much money you have, 4 or 5 ways that you can handle long-term care and which one would be best beneficial for you. Get a cost estimate for it. Consider your coverage options and then fund it and get it started. Now look, this may have not been the most fun topic today, okay? But it's something that's required. And more, it's needed by people. I didn't have it from my mom. I wish I would have. It would have made the load a lot lighter on us. And we could have spent more time talking and hanging out with her versus being the caregiver. You know what I'm saying? So I know this is not that interactive of a medium, okay? But if you have any questions about long-term care, pop them up in the chat, shoot over a message in Messenger. Let us know what's on your mind about this. Was this helpful? Did you learn some things? Did it make you think about some things? And here's something I want to put on your mind. Okay, I was listening to a guy, he's my coach, and paid him a fair amount of money, and he's worth every dime. And I'm listening to this talk. It's about the faster you learn, the more you earn. Okay, and as people, unfortunately, we're taught to be smart and to know the answers to things. You know, My coach says the last thing a fool said is, "I know that already." Okay. School is about knowing the right answer and writing it on a blank in the test. That's what school is about. Life is about making the right decisions and following through on them in real time so that it benefits your life and the life of other people. It's not about just knowing, it's about doing the right thing. Okay, so I encourage you to get with the financial professional and start working on this long-term care idea, because it's going to impact you. Either you or somebody in your family is going to be touched by it. Okay, and I would encourage you that you need to have a game plan for it. So if you have any questions, it's going to be a shorter session today. If you have any questions, feel free to get them over to us. You can email me at financialfreedomfridays.com, financialfreedomfridays.com, or you can email me at my name, Gus Tucker, Gustucker, the initials TFNA, Transamerica Financial Advisors, TFA, at gmail.com. Okay, so Financial Freedom Fridays at gmail.com, or Gus Tucker, Thomas Frank Alpha, TFA, at gmail.com. Okay, guys, it's been great chatting with you. Long-term care, man, it's something you got to deal with. You know, it's an adult conversation, and I pray that you'll have it with the financial professional and your loved ones. Even if you're getting this for parents, meet with them, and y'all get on this together. Grandparents, same idea. Get with them as a family and put this together. Okay. All right, guys. You have a great weekend, and it's Gus Tucker, Financial Freedom Fridays. I pray that this was helpful for you and that you'll take advantage of it. Share the show with people. Share the information with people. We'll do all we can to help. Okay. You guys have a great weekend and enjoy the weather. Nice weather everywhere I can see. So God bless you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.